Hello everybody and welcome to this video outlining the mods that we played in the 2024 XCOM 2 playthrough. And the mods that we're going to be covering today are Alpha's class pack. We're also going to focus on, that's going to be the main focus of the video. I think that's going to be a lot of it. And then also the faction mods that we used as well. So Phantoms, Rogue XCOM Operatives, the Bandits, and the SCP Mobile Foundation Task Forces. We used a light version of that. And a few other little mods as well, a couple of enemy mods, but really we're mainly going to be talking about Alpha's class pack. That is the primary focus, that is the mod we use to determine our XCOM soldiers. And yeah, we're going to get started. We're going to do them mostly in alphabetical order. We actually had 14 classes, the main mod has 12. We're going to start off with those 12, and then I'm going to explain the other two classes that we used as well. So let's begin then with the Burner class. So here's the Burner class soldiers that we had. I would like to point out we stuck to having one soldier per skill tree, and there were 3 skill trees in each class, so we limited ourselves to 3 soldiers per class. Of course, we were allowed to cross over if we had additional AP to use, and we did just that. And I thought the Burner class was a lot of fun. It's pretty obvious what it does. It revolves around the gauntlet and using the flamethrower. But then they also had some additional abilities, such as, in fact, let's go on Alan here. This ability was quite a lot of fun. The blitz shots as well, where you basically run up to an enemy and fire at point blank. It's kind of like using a sword, but with a gigantic beam cannon. So that's a lot of fun. Of course, it does have slightly lower aim, but you can potentially do a lot more damage, so I thought that was pretty good. Yeah, in Alan's case here, for instance, he went down the blitz tree, which focused on a lot of sort of shooty attacks, fire and steel attacks with your gauntlets, set fire to stuff, whatever, flamethorn damage. You equip a unique armor, so there's a lot of different things here actually. Fire a barrage of dragon rounds, guaranteed to hit, so there's no point in equipping dragon rounds, you might as well just go for something else. And that's what we did with him, so you have to think about the way you build out each of these. I did think the abilities were really interesting. The Harrier, you had a quick burn, which is a classic Lawn War ability. That is like a key ambush ability I've always found. That was pretty interesting. And then we also had Tristan as well, who was our main one soldier ability. I always forget where to go for some reason. Our main firebug, I believe, is the word I'm looking for. And this is all fire-oriented damage. You've also got Rouston here, which again, classic Lawn War ability. That's an ability we used quite a bit. Very good range, high pressure tanks, Flame Master. If you're going down the burner route, the firebug is the sort of classic what you would expect. But then I also found the additional abilities quite interesting, although aim is perhaps thrown in there a little bit. I don't think anybody would want to select aim. Hunker down confers to plus 20 aim. That's very specific. Deep cover. That's why my tertiary soldier, the third one, which I just brought in near the end when I had some excess soldiers to fill out, went down the Harrier route. Really are playing it for the Firebug and the Blitz tree as well. These are both very good. So yeah, good class. I thought it was really, really interesting, and yeah, really nice. We didn't get up to Firestorm, which is a very interesting ability. You've really got to think about how you use that. One other thing I would like to add as well is that all burners have the ability Rage Shot, which basically means they can take a free shot once they have been injured, and only once they've been injured. It also comes with an aim penalty, but that proved to be a very interesting ability. But yeah, very nice. Let's move on to the next class, which is the Commando. Now, we actually only had one Commando this playthrough, and that was Abishan here, Kyle Knight. Let's go into his abilities. Yeah, the reason we only had one was because most people didn't really select, didn't want to use a Commando, I suppose, apart from, well, I guess Kyle himself wanted to. And I'm really grateful he did. We actually got to take him out about 30 missions. I kind of just neglected the class. There's always one class I play in my playthroughs that's always quite neglected, and in this case it was the Commando. But we went down the tactical route, which I found very useful. Basically, you sort of have a bunch of supporting abilities. Mark Hostile, Commando gains a regeneration shield. That saved his life, I believe, in one particular mission, a very, very notorious mission. And as you see here, the soldier gains a free move after a grapple use. Now, that was a bug that we had this playthrough, if you were watching it. We did not have the grapple available. I believe Alpha, the creator of the mod pack, has stated that, yeah, that's a bug. That should hopefully be sorted at some point. It might be a conflict of one of the other mods, potentially. If anything, actually, is probably what it is. But yeah, normally they'd have a grapple, but we didn't get a grapple. However, I still got really good use out of it, despite not having a grapple available. You have the Marauder ability, shoot twice, allowing for shooting, then moving, or shooting twice.
You've got Close Quarter Shooter, and this is an interesting one. The ability improves This ability improves the soldier's ability to fight and dodge when fighting with lighter weaponry. So that is this, for instance. The bullpup is slightly lighter than an assault rifle, and that's how it weighs it. So have a look here. +5 crit for lighter weapons. So that's why we went with the bullpup here. So he could essentially shoot twice with it. He also had increased dodge, so increased survivability, really useful. But yeah, this tactical route basically has a lot of supporting abilities. Like I say, the Mark Hostile, really useful. I think the Havoc tree looked quite interesting as well. This is for sort of close quarters. You've also got melee attacks, so remember you've got a little sword here. You also have the ability to stab twice as well, I noticed as well with the Vibro Blade. If it's a, unlock the combat knife stab attack. Have a little look here. Can perform a dash move using both actions and still trigger slash against adjacent enemy. Yeah, I'm probably not reading that right, but we definitely have the ability to stab like twice if we wanted to. Stab and then shoot or something like that. Charge, retaliation. Again, this is basically like Blade Storm in a way, so really nice. But yeah, really good little class there. I think it's the middle one, the tactical route that we went down, that was particularly interesting. I cannot tell you anything about the blaster class here. We did not use that whatsoever. Attack and move electrical shot barrage. Looks like it's very much a shooty class, which is certainly not a bad thing, is it? Actually, +1 damage if the target has been wounded. Yeah, pretty good. You use this as a finisher potentially, because you're not doing a lot of damage. You're not doing high damage with this class. That is one thing I will say. It's very good at finishing. You know, you're not going to open up with this, although you might use the Mark Hostile potentially if you wanted to. And there you go. So the Commando, definitely a place for them. I think all trees are probably valid in their own right. You might want some additional AP so that you can grab abilities from other trees though, if you were to go down any one. Such as we did here. I think the middle one though, for me, I'm glad I went down that route. Very useful abilities. That is really good. All allies within 10 tiles gain of the Commando gain +15 dodge, and they do +1 damage. That is Commando's Guidance. It's a passive effect. I mean, that's really interesting, isn't it? Really interesting. I wonder if that stacks with other Commandos. And then eventually you are all just doing stupid damage. That would be quite interesting if it does stack. Yeah. Anyway, there you go. That's the Commando class. We didn't see a lot of it, but what we did see of it was very interesting, even though it was bugged without the grapple. If it had the grapple, this thing, I mean, he'd have been flying around all over the place. Ridiculous. Really good. All right, on to the next class. Okay, next we have the Drone Operator. This is basically your specialist class, as it were. So let's have a little look here, shall we? We want to go and take a look at the 3 trees that we have, which are Specialist, Technician, and Combat Hacker. To start with, this is interesting. They start with Rescue Protocol. Do they start with Rescue Protocol? I feel like I picked that up with Flyer at some points. Anyway, Combat Protocol and Aid Protocol. So they start off a good whack of abilities, actually. I think starting with Combat Protocol is very useful. So you've got your top one here, which is Specialist. This focuses on medical stuff, as you can see already. Defensive capabilities, so you can provide armor, repair shredded armor. That's really neat. I don't think I used that. I don't recall using it, but that's pretty cool. Immunize, which is essentially untouchable. Yeah, that's it. Make them immune until the next turn. That is really good. Field Medic, Restoration. So yeah, the medical defensive tree here. Technician, Fire Protocol. We use this a lot on the final mission. Think of it as it does about, I think, 1 more damage than Combat Protocol. I think it's like 8 damage this does. Then it obviously sets the target on fire. You've got to be careful you don't use it on something that's, say, immune to fire, which sounds a bit obvious, but you do have to think about that. It is a different type of damage, I believe. So, yeah, it's also got a cooldown, and so you can use it in unlimited time. So, as you can see, that cannot be used against robotic units. Yeah, so, very good. Scanning Protocol, Threat Assessment, Sticky Bomb Protocol, stick a bomb to an enemy. Very nice, kind of like the Reapers. Volt Arc, which is where anything gets too close, you do some shock, you shock them basically. Kind of like a Blade Storm, but with a Gremlin, which is nice, and then Capacitor Discharge, so pretty good there. Yeah, some nice abilities, a bit more offensive orientated, I think also quite tactical, so quite versatile actually. You can do some sort of AoE damage, you can do specific fire damage, you can scout, you can grant threat assessments, you've got sticky bombs, so you've got ambush capabilities. The Technician route is, like I say, the most versatile of the lot. The only thing it is missing is any kind of hacking buffs here, which are, as you can see there,
Haywire Protocol, that's not always a must, I would argue. I would say that's not always a must for a specialist, you know, but if they do end up doing quite well in hacking, it is worth picking that up, obviously. And I believe Carlson was our hacker, and she only ever got to, I think, Captain, maybe Major, so we didn't really use it a lot. The only ability I will shout out, though, is Spaghetti Code. This was a lot of fun. Horrifically bad code in weaponized form, can stun or gain temporary control of a hostile robotic unit. That was quite a riot when we used that on a Sectopod, as I believe it's a guaranteed chance, if I'm not mistaken. Requires a contest between the drone operator's hacking stat and the target's hack defense. Okay, I'm wrong about that. But I think it's got a good chance of success, though. Yeah, basically, it's got a really good chance of success, and we ended up taking control temporarily of a Sectopod. Just very briefly until something happened, I think, with the hacker, who then was rendered unconscious. Yeah, that was it. I think it was a... what do you call these? Spectres, that's it. That rendered my hacker unconscious. Bit of bad luck there. But yeah, that's pretty interesting. Resupply. Reload the primary... reload the primary ammo of all allies. Very nice. A little bit of versatile, but a bit more... I'd say a bit more offense-orientated to some extent. So very interesting. That's the combat hacker there. Yeah, I would say it was pretty good, actually. A really good way to do the 3 different, I guess, specialist classes with a drone, or the Gremlin. Yeah, very nice. Interesting stuff. Like I say, we got some really good use out of a few of these abilities. The one I thought was most interesting out of all the classes was probably the Technician. Just because I think Voltaic Arc, I think, surprised me a few times when Flyer had this and somebody got a bit too close. Deals electrical damage that pierces armor as well. I mean, by the time you're a major, you've got quite a bit of armor you tend to be contending with. So that is really useful, and that can be like really key if somebody's coming in for the kill but they've got low health. Well, you can just finish them off with this. I cannot remember how much damage it is, and I'm not going to be able to find a clip of it because I barely remember it happening. I think it only happened once or twice throughout the playthrough, to be honest. But yeah, it was that's a nice little ability. But yeah, good class. Alright, on to the next one. Okay, I think this is the class I would like to give the most credit to, actually. This is the Fuze class. I think this is quite an overhaul of what you might know as the Grenadier. And I really quite liked what Alpha did with this. I'm going to focus primarily here on Duke. So let's take a little look at the abilities, shall we? You've got the Detonator class, the Grunt, and the Shield Wall. I mean, for starters, you can pretty much separate Shield Wall almost into its own class. It's very different because the idea is you use, as you can see here, the Riot Shield, but we'll come to that in a bit. Let's have a little look at the abilities. The Detonator and the Grunt. So we're down with the Grunt here with Duke, and this essentially, by the way, the starting ability is Launch Grenade, Fletchet Shot, which is insanely powerful, especially early on. It's an AoE shotgun shot, basically. I think you can give other weapons, but the shotgun is just ridiculous. Blast Padding, which is pretty nice for survivability, and Fog Wall. I believe this is an XCOM ability. I don't know. Equip smoke grenade for additional charge. Let me just see something real quick. Is that something everybody has? Yes, it is. Okay, very interesting. We went down, let's say, Grunt route with Duke here, which really focuses on that smoke grenade. So, take a look here. Combat Drunks. A fast-acting stimulant in your smoke grenades grants plus 10 aim, plus 10 critical chance to units in the smoke cloud. This was really clutch. I mean, the smoke grenades are seldom used. Let's be honest, we don't often use them unless we're playing Lon War. But in any kind of vanilla-ish run, just a standard War of the Chosen run, you're probably not going to use any. You might use them once or twice in your entire run. And I found myself using them pretty much every mission Duke was out. And yeah, that's something I really liked about the way this class was set up, is there's a very clear focus and you want to kind of take all the abilities in one tree here. Collateral damage, which is basically destroy cover. Aggression for crit chance, that's quite nice. All limited use items in your inventory receive 1 extra use. I mean, that is with the smoke grenades. Basically, you've got 3 smoke grenades, essentially, because you have the +1 for Fog Wall and +1 for tactical pockets. And gain 2 charges of a heavy weapon, so that's if we were to select a heavy weapon, but that means we lose the grenade launcher. So I don't know if I would do that. Rapid fire though, that would have been very nice as well. And then for Goose, we went down the Detonator route, which focuses more on flashbangs, if I'm not mistaken. The soldier's grenades can pierce and shred more effectively, so actually an acid bomb I always basically gave a Grenadier an acid bomb no matter what. Improvised explosive. Now this is one of those, if you've ever been reluctant to take a fuse on the final mission, which is obviously quite a long mission, you can assemble an explosive from various objects on the ground, and I believe that grenade as well, never run out of grenades again. This matches your best grenades available, so if you have researched plasma grenades, you can assemble plasma grenades out on the field. So if I was going to take a fuse in that final mission, it would have been Goose, because he had that ability. Mind you, I gave this to Duke as well. But yeah, that is a really interesting ability. Volatile mix, a classic salvo, very much the classic Grenadier route, heavy ordnance, and then piercing barrage. Piercing damage and cover in a straight line, and attacks deal increased damage. So yeah, that's very much the classic Grenadier route, focused on high damage grenades. You've got defensive grenades here. Why did I obsess on giving you flashbang? I think it's because I could assemble grenades. So that was why, basically, again, adds a bit of more versatility. If I know I could assemble grenades, why don't I take out other utility grenades instead? And that was why I went down the flashbang route with Goose. Goose on this tree. So we had an increased versatility. Now let's talk about the Shield Wall class, which is just a bit of an anomaly. This is very different. I only ever got to Lieutenant with him because every mission this guy went on was an absolute disaster. I don't know how we didn't have way more fatalities, although he did get a promotion, so we might as well give him that damage control, which is what he would have gotten. Yeah, it encourages use of the ballistic shield. So rapid phalanx, allies in a small radius around you gain bonus aim. If using the ballistic shield, whenever you activate shield wall, you gain a non-movement action point, and the aim bonus increases. And it revolves around that damn shield, which is really good. It also provides cover as well for your allies as well. Avenger, you'll automatically fire, but with your you automatically fire a shot back with your energy sweeper. So that's the shotgun there that we've got, equipped. When an ally within 4 tiles is shot at. Yeah, very good. Gain armor for 3 turns if you take damage. Elite bulwark, and again if you have the shield wall, the ballistic shield there. It's very interesting. So yeah, this is meant to be a very sort of defensive, I guess, yeah, close quarters is kind of obvious. You also have the infantry slot, so maybe you would combine it with smoke, possibly. That would make sense since you get a smoke grenade, so it's very much a sort of riot team style thing here. I think I used to go down sort of maybe the acid bomb route just so I could get rid of armor. Depends. But yeah, you could absolutely go down the smoke route and just, tank. Really, really tank. If you don't have a timer, soldier class like this, the shield wall could be quite interesting. And you can really sort of wait to fight out. Trade fire. He didn't really have trade fire. That would have been very good for him, actually, the amount of times he got shot at. That would have been fantastic. I didn't realise that. Yeah, that would have been really good. Anyway, that's that's been and gone, though. So yeah, I'd really like to give Alpha credit for this. I thought this class was really good, the Fuze class. Definitely did itself. He's definitely done a really good job with it. There's a lot of variety, a lot of options here, which is quite difficult potentially with a soldier class that just usually revolves around throwing grenades. So there you have it. Right, on to the next class. And the next one is the Heavy Gunner. No surprise here, we got up to 3 colonels. This soldier class is always necessary because it revolves around the heaviest weapon, the beam cannon, even though only one of them's got it equipped at the moment. And of course, shredding armor tends to be the case. We had all 3 of these guys were fantastic. All the ability routes, the specializations are all quite obvious, I suppose. Bulldozer revolves around lots of shooting and shredding. Seems pretty clear to me. You've got your chain shot, you've got your traverse fire, cyclic fire, shredder, increased aim to start off with if you wanted. We did go down that route with Peter, I think it was. We've got the fire support route, which revolves around suppression. So you've got Mayhem, which I believe is one of those classic Long War suppression abilities. Lock on, yeah, you increase damage to hit against enemies that are suppressed. You've got grazing fire, which, yeah, shots that miss are more likely to at least graze. That sort of stuff, area barrage. So yeah, you very much got suppression options here, which can be really, really good. So yeah, very clear tree there. And then you've got personal defense, and this is kind of the wild card. I believe in Long War, the equivalent class would have a vibroblade. And here we've got the pistol as the backup weapon, which, to be honest, with these two, you're never really going to use. But then you've got the personal defense class, and I really like this so much. I ended up taking this soldier out on my final mission on Leviathan, because I was able to give him Shredder and enough AP to go cyclic fire, so it multi-shot shredding for any big targets, And then we also had some really good action efficiency, thanks to all the pistol abilities that we had here. So your auto pistol deals increased damage, pierces armor, and has an increased chance to hit. I mean, just straight away, it's like, right, the pistol's not half bad. Quick draw, again, doesn't end your turn, action efficiency comes into play. So the ability to pierce armor, if you've just sort of like damaged something with a lot of armor, let's say with a few overwatches, you can get the finishing touch just with that ability. The ability to just fire a pistol, really nice. Gain +1 overwatch for your secondary weapon, and +1 armor per action remaining. I don't think I ever used this, the pistol overwatch. I always went for the beam cannon, so that is perhaps a little bit of a problem with me. Juggernaut, I basically made him a mimic beacon. We essentially got lots of like an additional armor for that, so I think you could reduce the chance of being critically hit, and allows them to occasionally armor up, giving them a temporary armor boost for a small cost to mobility. There was one mission I think I had to just basically make him tank, and he did a really good job of it, really good. Barely took any damage, and I think we might have done that twice actually. Very nice. So Sidearm Expert, you gain Return Fire and Lightning Hands perks, and then Face Off, which obviously is a classic vanilla ability, as we know. So yeah, again, I think these have been split into very interesting trees. You've got your obvious one of the heavy cannon here, or your heavy cannon abilities. You've got your suppression abilities, pretty clear, and then optionally you have the personal defense. I imagine most people go down this route, and then potentially, if they have, let's say, a genius combat intelligence, you might complement it with, say, the likes of the pistol abilities just for that efficiency. You'd primarily go down this route. You're probably not going to be using suppression. I think early game suppression is really good. That's why we used, I think, Bella a lot in the early game, because being able to suppress is quite useful, and then also being able to hit them easier is really, really good too. So there you go. I thought that was, again, just like all the classes, there isn't really one I'd say is particularly weak. Yeah, this has been a very good class, very useful, and there you go. There you have it. That's the Heavy Gunner class, and on to the next one. Okay, and now we move on to the Hunter class, and again we are presented with 3 quite different soldiers actually. Let's have a little look at the White Death, shall we, who came out on our final mission. You've got the Stalker, the Gunman, and the Slayer. The Stalker is the stealthy route, primarily. You've got your Surprise, which is basically do damage while concealed. You've got, Hide in the Shadows, basically being able to reconceal at Corporal. Pretty bloody useful. Spotting targets from concealment, that sort of stuff. A shot that doesn't break concealment is Silent Shot there. 3-turn cooldown. So yeah, Stalker is the stealthy route. We only got her up to about here or here, I think. I think up to Captain, the person that had that, because we just went down with other soldiers basically, and she was also a, I guess a legacy soldier that I don't really use, a non-viewer soldier, so I never really promoted her more than that, but she was very useful though, so I was really happy with the class. Not to mention, the secondary weapon is this absolute beast of a weapon, the Sword-Off. Then we have the Gunman, which, speaking of, is the sword-off shotgun route. Slugshot. Slugshot I found never really worked that well for me. I guess it's good for finishing stuff if it pierces 2 armor, but fire a shot that has no range penalty, so basically you're more likely to hit, but you don't do any damage because you get the drop in damage, so it is probably just a finishing ability, but I don't know, I was never really a fan of it, to be honest with you. Maybe I just didn't use it correctly, that might be more likely it. Then you have other, like, shotgun abilities to increase aim, crit chance, damage. Well-placed shot with your sword-off has increased range, so it can graze. More likely to hit, I guess, again. Fire first. When an enemy attempts a shot at you, you will preemptively take an SMG shot at them. That's a really neat little ability, especially if you get yourself into some tricky situations with this class, which you most likely are with the Gunman specialization, because you're going to be running in there. You want a high mobility soldier, get in there, shotgun somebody. You might have broken through their line, and there could be other stuff waiting for you. And then you've got double tap. Classic ability. I think that's a sniper ability, if I'm not mistaken, in Longmore. Activate to fire a standard shot and gain a second action. This is restricted to any non-movement action, so that'd be quite good too. That class was really, really good early, mainly because of the sheer damage you do with the sword-off. But I think the one that came into effect was the Slayer towards the end of the campaign. This was a slow burner. Mind you, the abilities here are really interesting. This is something that you would use in conjunction with other XCOM operatives to take down something big like we did, and we really did with this. The MAME ability was clutch.
Fire a shot of your primary weapon that immobilizes the target until the end of their next turn. We were able to take out the Archon King thanks to this bugger. I mean, just amazing. I mean, you could use it on the Berserker Queen as well, potentially. Just keep it in place. It can't move. Preservation, once you break concealment. We picked up Hide in the Shadows, so we basically always had this like plus 15 defense for 2 turns. So for 6 turns, we can have that, basically that buff. Really nice. Big game shot. Really good if you need to do high damage. Really good if you can combine that with aim bonuses from other soldiers, so holo targeting essentially. That is really good. The damage was really nice on that. Refunds 1 action point when you are revealed. That's quite nice. Active reload. Reload your primary weapon for free when you make a kill. And that kind of combines really well with Unload, which we used in the final mission on one of the avatars. Fire 3 shots at a target in a single attack. And we basically unloaded the plasma bolt caster, which was just ridiculous. Yeah, really interesting class. Again, 3 very different specializations. You absolutely could combine, I think, any 2 of them here, I would say. We could go Slayer Stealth, which is what we did here. We could have gone Slayer Sword Off, potentially, if maybe the mobility was even higher. You know, that would work too. Certainly double tap, potentially, because you could go take a shot and theoretically then maim, possibly, as well, I reckon might have been an option. But then again, with Unload, I don't know. Yeah, there's lots of ways you could do this, I reckon. And yeah, very, very good. Never saw what these abilities are, really. Salt in the Wound. All attacks do a +1 damage if they are suffering an effect. So again, you would use that maybe in tandem with the Demolisher class that we will come to in a bit. But there you go, there you have the Slayer class. I thought it was very interesting, and again, the Slayer was a slow burner, but we really picked up steam with it towards the end. Very good indeed. Alright, on to the next class. Okay, we do actually have 2 Marauders. Augie is the other one, but he's injured, and I'm not going to wait the 20 hours, and I'm already on the screen now, so here we go. The Marauder class is one that always had a bit of an identity crisis with me. I could never remember what it was. I got it confused with the Hunter class. But this is essentially your melee class, and the idea is these are soldiers essentially trained by, I think Bradford is kind of the concept, so you're looking at close range weaponry, stuff like that. We went down the Lancer route with Fang here. This was really interesting. Something really interesting about their default skills is, aside from, you know, really good sword attacks, Momentum Shot was really interesting, okay? You get to, while in Momentum, you can quickly fire a shot. What that means is essentially you come in with a melee, and then you can take a shot with a pretty significant aim penalty that does increased damage. I mean, I think with like an SMG or something like that, we were looking at 14 to 18 damage. Something ridiculous. It was absolutely a stupid amount of damage. So really interesting concept that right there. Yeah, you had some classic abilities in the Lancer route. You're untouchable. Rogue was more the stealthy type, I suppose. Evasive, disarming strike. Yeah, everything but parry there, essentially, if that makes sense. But yeah, Blade Dance, that's kind of a crazy ability. Then you had the Breacher shots here. Breacher specialization. I don't think we had anything in there, to be honest. I don't think we used it at all. No, I don't recognize any of this, so I can't really put any comment on that. I guess this class was a little bit neglected. Even the soldiers that were in it, neither of them got to Colonel. They only just about reached Major. So I can't really offer a lot on this, other than say it's a bit melee orientated. And there is one more class that has 1 melee specialization, which we did use quite a lot of, and we will come to that later. But yeah, it's a very, very fine class, especially given that Momentum Shot. I think that early game you wouldn't really use because you've got, you know, low aim. You maybe don't have a holo targeter if you're not using the, I can't remember, the Rifleman, which is the next class, I think. But yeah, if you are able to like buff the aim, you can do some really nasty things with that. So again, really interesting concept. I didn't perhaps utilize it that much, but yeah, very good. Very interesting indeed. This looks like he's diving off a backboard or something. So random. Love it. Alright, anyway, on to the Rifleman class. Alright, so we had 2 Riflemans this playthrough, I believe. Or did we have 3 but then lose one? Let me just double check that. No, we had 2. Is that correct? Apparently it is. Alright, cool. So, Defender, Spotter, and Infantry. Defender is your Overwatch class. I don't need to cover this too much, other than the fact that it also has Piercing Shot, which is really good against, you know, anything with armor. By the way, you've got Light 'em Up as default as well. Overwatch shots deal 30% extra damage. And Trench Charge, the soldier charges across the battlefield more efficiently. If they moved in the last turn, they gain bonus defense. So really, this is really cut out to be an Overwatcher by default, I would say. That is your best class here. Your best specialization, and hence why we ended up taking Beermat on the final mission. He was really good throughout, really vital in taking down the alien rulers, stuff like that. It's very good. Call for Fire is an ability I'd like to draw attention to. I thought this was really interesting. Basically, all allies in an 8-tile radius around you also gain Overwatch, and this also helped us take out the I think the Archon King in one mission. Genuinely, we took him out in one mission thanks to this this soldier class, as well as a few others. Basically, this entire pack. Yeah, really cool. The Spotter focuses on the Holo Targeter. That is the secondary weapon for the class, and I think you kind of want to get stuff like rapid targeting, so you get a freebie. That's really good, especially by the end game. You can just pop a quick plus 30 aim on something, and that's really nice. High Def Holo is also quite good, since you also get to increase crit chances. I'd say that's the best, maybe the best combination out of them here. Then you've got the infantry class, which is all your standard shot abilities, as it were. Very likely to hit, but deals less damage, so think Walk Fire. I don't know if it uses more ammo. I don't think it does. It doesn't use more ammo. It's like Walk Fire, but it doesn't use up more ammo. Walk Fire being the Long War ability, I think. Adaptive Aim, if a shot is missed, gain plus 15 aim for the next turn. Iron Will. Ammo Conservation, that can be kind of cool if you plan on taking a lot of shots. In fact, after each shot you take, so really, I don't know about that. If it grants fire a center shot, if it hits, it grants a bonus move. So run and gun, not run and gun, something like that. I can't remember what it was called, but yeah, basically primary shooting abilities, which are fine, very good. But you've already got Light 'em Up, which is kind of the big one. I would say this is the weakest of the three trees. I'd be more likely to go down the Spotter route, and then just supplement it with with Sentinel, and that's mainly it. You could get away with just supplementing this with Sentinel and having a strong Overwatcher that can do a lot of holo targeting. Morale boost. Yeah, that's probably potentially what I would do if you're not going to go down full Overwatch. These two are the best. I'd say the infantry one, maybe because I didn't use it. I think I had a Spotter. What did I make? Godforsaken. Didn't we have... We did have another Rifleman. Where is he? Is he not available? We did. You went down the infantry route. You were absolutely fine. No, he was a support. I'm thinking of Human. That's it. Alright, so there we go. There's the Rifleman class. Very nice split, I would say. But yeah, the Overwatch is definitely the way to go, combined with possibly some holo targeting. Or vice versa, I would go for, personally. But yeah, very good. And on to the next class. And here we have the Rocketeer. We had some fun with these. We had some pretty hilarious moments, mainly missing rockets with Slicer here. But anyway, yeah, this has quite an interesting split as well of specializations. You've got anti-armor, survivor, and trooper. Now, we went down the anti-armor route. Is your classic rockets. Rockets are more accurate. Concussion rockets, which is the much argued one in Long War that a lot of people, I don't think, really like. It's, you basically give the enemy smoke, but then you could, you do a little bit of damage, disorient them. Possibly a good finisher. Like, I can see its use case, I just don't think I ever used it, even in this playthrough. Increase the range, bigger boom, even bigger boom, and then Bunker Buster for the biggest boom. Yeah, rockets is the top one. Survivor is an interesting one. It is very much defensive abilities. Breaker's a good ability here. Unleash a volley of bullets at your target's cover. I think that's in another soldier class as well, like the Demolisher or something. I can't remember which one. But yeah, Fortify, padded armor. Yeah, Survivor abilities. It kind of is a bit obvious, really, isn't it? And then it throws in saturation fire there at the end. And then the Trooper. Now, this is the unique thing about the Rocketeer, is Gun Bash. So it's the ability from, Chimera Squad. XCOM Chimera Squad. It's where you see them, smack them with the butt of their weapon. Basically, that's how you knock enemies out, isn't it, in that game? It's basically that ability. And then you can get some, You can do that. Strong arm, basically you're a bit better at it. You get the guided rocket. I picked that up as well, just so we had more rockets. Preemptive fire gives plus 35%, sorry, gives a 35% chance to take a free reaction shot at newly revealed enemies. Can potentially be quite good, actually. Gauntlet, if you're using that. I don't know. Would you use a gauntlet with this? I guess if you didn't have the rocket launcher mod, yes, you would use the gauntlet, wouldn't you? Yeah, sorry, ignore me then. You would. Butcher. The soldier gains plus 10 aim, 25% more damage. And an EMP rocket. That's really cool, actually. So, I think they're all quite interesting. I would say you're probably going to go down the classic, just fire all the rockets route. Although, if you're using the gauntlet and you're not using the Rocket Launcher 2.0 mod, I think it's called. Yeah, Rocket Launcher 2.0. That is... I mean, that's a must-use. That's just... You've just got to use that rocket, mate. You do. But the gauntlet's fine. We had one soldier that did use the gauntlets, I think. And I think she went down this route, I believe. And that did us just fine. Yeah, interesting. I don't think it has the same punch, as ironically, as the other classes. But it's got a place. It's kind of just a way to try and, utilize the Rocketeer. It definitely had a place. I mean, the cover destruction on the rockets is massive, even without Bunker Buster on the armor, destruction. And to be fair, Strong Arm was really key, or rather Gun Bash, in just taking down. When you're out of ammo, you just need to run up to an enemy and knock them out. Like, it's a desperation move. I think we did it against the Assassin once, actually, possibly. So, yeah, it's a fine class. You've just got to remember what you've got. Executioner, so good at finishing stuff with under 50% health. So let's say you're in a 2-turn encounter, you might open with the Rocketeer, and then you might finish. You might execute an enemy on the following turn, potentially. So there you have it. So interesting class, and on to the next one. Okay, I'm going to try and speed it up here because it's the sniper class, and this is somewhat traditional in some ways. Let's take a little look here. Marksman, gunslinger, sharpshooter. Marksman is sort of shooting it. Well, I was going to say AO, shooting individual targets. Actually, you've got kill zone. Piercing shot was amazing. This is a basically a narrow attack with full on range, and you basically destroy cover. You can shoot it through walls. It shreds armor and it deals damage. That is a really good ability. I strongly recommend that for all of your snipers in this class. But you've got your traditional ones like Serial, Sniper Elite, remove squad sight, stuff like that, stationary threat. So yeah, stationary sniper is kind of the theme here. Let's jump down to Sharpshooter, Death from above. So maybe you move, you shoot. You've got Lon Watch as well, so you have your Overwatchers. I do feel like these two, you kind of are going to be picking abilities from both. They definitely overlap a lot. Precision shots. I don't know if this requires both actions. Requires both actions to use. It does. So it's not like one's a move sniper and one's not. So yeah, Deadeye. Bigger they are. Long Watch. Yeah, Death from above. Twin Fangs I had with one of the other snipers, but fire poisonous rounds randomly at up to 2 enemies. That can be useful. I didn't get any use out of it, only because of the types of enemies we had. Also, we had Trade Fire, which, by the way, this does not have squad sight, in case you're wondering. Trade Fire does not have squad sight, so just remember that. Then we had the Gunslinger route as well, which is stuff you might be expecting. Well, kind of, actually. It's this, I think, combines a little bit with the Akimbo class, which was another class we downloaded and then was mixed in, I think, with this, to some extent anyway. Once per turn, fire your pistol at another random foe. Okay, Frantic Fire, free action, instantly fire your pistol at 2 random enemies. Desperado, it's all, when foes survive the sniper's pistol attacks, immediately fire again. Basically, just keep firing. You start, you fire twice here, you don't kill anything, you fire a 3rd time, and you've not even taken an action, technically. Fire your pistol at up to 6 random enemies. Opportunist, reaction shots now ignore half cover bonuses. Last resort, a well-placed pistol shot. I don't think I ever used this. Deals high damage and high crit chance. But yeah, 2 sniper trees, and then Gunslinger. You're probably going to mix and match your snipers, I imagine, because even if you go down one route, you're definitely going to go, well, I absolutely want one ability from another route, I would say, because stuff like Death from above is so useful. And then you've got stuff like Serial, for instance, up here. I would definitely pick over Twin Fangs. And then you've got Kill Zone, which is, yeah. So I would say you wouldn't go down one tree, you're probably going to go down both. You can avoid the Gunslinger one, but it's definitely a lot of fun. We actually I say that,
Ace did really well. He went down this tree and it was really good. Anyway, I've got to speed things up, so on to the next class. Okay, and your next class is the support class. We had 3 of them. This covers stuff like medical duties. The backup weapon is the arc pulsar, whatever it's called, where you stun things essentially. You've got your classic medic routes. I'm not going to cover much of this. It is medical related abilities. You know, stuff that doesn't cost an action. Battery, which is focused on the arc thingy. What is it called again? I've forgotten the name of it. Arc thrower, that's it. Smoke bomber, free smoke grenade. So defensive abilities again, but you can also, yeah, stun stuff, and I think do stuff to electrical enemies as well. And then combat support is surgical precision, so increased aim against stuff with in half cover. Overwatcher, if you can get some rapid reaction when in Overwatch, each shot you hit grants another reaction fire shot. So you do actually have the Overwatcher kind of ability here. Will automatically go into Overwatch when taking a shot with a primary firearm. That's quite cool. So you take a shot and then you Overwatch. So yeah, medical, arc thrower, and then Overwatcher. Sounds pretty good for a support, I suppose. That all kind of makes sense, doesn't it? Overwatching is definitely sort of support type thing as well. Untouchable there is quite good. I like that. Oh, some interesting stuff. Okay, anyway, so there you go. That is the support class. To speed things along, let's move on to the next one. So we only finished with 1 Vanguard. We did have 2, but our 1 fatality of the playthrough was, unfortunately, a Vanguard. And but he came back in robot form. Anyway, we had a Warden and we have an Assault. The Warden is a pistol ace. This basically does, this definitely does combine with the Akimbo class, I think, that I was on about. It's integrated it here, I think. I'm fairly sure. I'm less sure. I'm sure there'll be some clarification in the comments potentially about it. I have forgotten. But yeah, this is pretty cool. Fan fire. The business. Fire your pistol at 2 random enemies. Quick draw. Yeah, this is what Dio was. And yeah, gunslinger. Kind of shots, abilities that you might be aware of already. The assault. Combined with stupid mobility. This was insane. Hip fire. Killer instinct, run and gun. I think you also can reduce the cooldown on run and guns as well with another ability, potentially. Close combat specialist, which is just stupid. If you park this assault with close combat specialist next to a reinforcement drop, congrats. Like, that's easy mode. Really, it is. Soldier loads a gun with acid rounds. That is, I mean, against a frickin'. This is how you can make somebody with a shotgun useful against something like a Sectopod or some mechs, or maybe even a gatekeeper if they can hit the shot. Hip fire, by the way, is basically a freebie, so it's a free shot with a small aim penalty. So the assault class is your classic, I've got a shotgun and I'm gonna kill you with it. Your runner is also kind of like that as well. In fact, if anything, he was more of a runner. Lightning reflexes is one of the best abilities in the game. The ability to absorb an Overwatch for free is just fantastic. You also get to move. Yeah, that ability is so good. Honestly, I love it. Killing an enemy with your primary weapon reduces the cooldown of all abilities by 1. Now you combine that with run and gun, and then you combine that with killer instinct. You've got quite a deadly cycle here. A really deadly cycle. So that is really nice, and that's what we did. Is he was just running and gunning, and then I think he also didn't he have increased armor as well? I feel like he had increased armor when he had run and gun active. Maybe I'm imagining that's somebody else, I think. Oh, there we go. Close encounters. After activating run and gun, gain +2 armor for 2 turns. So yeah, by the way, he also had 18 mobility. Which was silly, and he ended up finishing the campaign. Basically, we combined it with an XCOM ability, Caustic Slug, shreds armor, doubles the damage. So silly. But yeah, you can pretty much integrate both these abilities together to some extent. I would say if you've got a high mobility one, you definitely want to think about this. I mean, grants +4 mobility when used. In fact, if anything, runner with a low mobility could be quite good. It has a 4-turn, what was it? Uses a free action 2-turn cooldown. Combine that actually with close encounters. You want your fast one as an assault if you were going to be religious about this and stick to 1, which I did, but then I had so much AP because he was a genius. And then your slow mobility, you could then use endurance, I would say. And if you want a gunslinger, well, there's your gunslinger. It's sort of, that is maybe a little bit tacked on here, just because they needed some sort of secondary weapon, I suppose. But the shotgun really is all they need, isn't it?
so deadly. I had a lot of fun. We all had a lot of fun watching Boss just do stupid stuff with this. It was so much fun. Okay, now it's on to the 2 additional classes that are not in normally, but because we had the Akimbo and the Keeper class, we did get 2 more, so here is the first one. Okay, so let's look at the Enforcer class first. This was a very deadly class. Have a little look at this. Yeah, we went down, this is kind of like a sword route, basically. It's a sword class that can also wield, I think, a shotgun as well, so almost like a classic ranger in that sense, and they are bloody powerful. So Red Glaive here went down very much a sword route, and Anger Strike is the first ability I want to point out here. When an Enforcer moves adjacent to a foe, immediately perform a Blade Storm attack against that foe. That was just silly. We got so much use out of that. Accidental use as well. Most of the time I forgot it was there and I was like, what is going on? And why did... Interesting, I went down Trade Fire. Oh, I couldn't select Reaper. Right. Requires Kenjutsu. Okay. I'm not too sure. I might be missing something here then. There might be another mod I don't have. Yeah, possibly. But yeah, then we also have the Champion, which is what route Sammy went down, I think. And actually I want to focus on him because, aside from it being his final playthrough, there was a really fun ability that, well, there was an ability that saved his life. Ensures the first killing blow in a mission will not lead to instant death. That pretty much came into effect as soon as he set foot on the field. He got punched by an Andromedan onto a car, and he just blew up, but survived once we stabilized him. Yeah, they are basically melee orientated. Yeah, very good. And when they're within 4 tiles of the Enforcer, enemies within 4 tiles of the Enforcer have -10 aim against other targets. So, yeah, intimidators, I suppose. Central Rushdown is an interesting one. You have to be careful with it. Basically, you get given an extra move action if you use this. And I would use a move first, then I would pop it, because I think one time it was a bit jank, or alternatively I maybe moved 1 tile too far. It's more sort of a UI thing, that's just my recommendation. And we did have a Ranger, but I didn't really use him much. He was a bit of a gambler, apparently. Deal increased damage with attacks based on how likely they are to miss. Oh, that's quite interesting. Shotgun wedding. Shotgun abilities here, basically. Survival abilities here, as well as a few other bits and bobs. The duel as well, that's quite interesting. Quick reflexes. And then you've got sword abilities down here, so we kind of had an additional sword class, basically. And I would argue, actually, this was more powerful than the other ones. I mean, you could shred armor, spinning sweep, which I believe was up here on one of the other classes, essentially. So this was essentially a more powerful sword class, the warrior. So that's why she was able to get so many kills and was also a joint MVP in the playthrough. So there you go. And the Enforcer is a very powerful close range class. Okay, on to the next one. And finally, let's look at the Demolisher. Let's see, this is a very interesting class. They have kind of a similar loadout to a Grenadier in that sense, where they have so many grenade slots. They can also pick up additional grenades. We didn't go down the Raider route, we went down the Trapper and the Bomber route. The thing with Demolishers, they don't carry a grenade launcher. They have an ability which is Watch Them Run, which is after throwing a grenade or launching a grenade, you will automatically enter Overwatch, which is very interesting indeed. We have the Claymore as well. Grenade Specialist can equip a grenade in the specialty slot, unlocks special slots if not already available. Sorry, I just don't know why I'm even reading that bit. And Quickscope, which I didn't really use. You are able to occasionally perform a Quickscope shot with a sniper. What is this about? I think it's supposed to be like a hip shot type thing, where, you know, it's a free shot, but I don't think it was free though, so I'm not too sure about that. But yeah, the idea is throw a grenade, go into Overwatch is the concept with the Demolisher. So meant to be quite a good ambusher potentially. So the Trapper and the Bomber, I would say, are the 2 things there. You've got the Homing Mine, so that obviously works in tandem with the Claymore there. Reduced concealment, I think, or reduced detection radius here. Shrapnel, which needs biggest booms. A little bit of a bug there, so we had to go down a different route. We went down extra grenades. Grenade trap, stuff to do with the Claymore, basically, and then buckshot at the end. The Bomber is very interesting because you pick up additional grenades. You've got the Shrapnel grenade, which basically doesn't do much damage. It's like 1 to 3, but then it can cause the enemy to bleed.
Adhesion Bomber, which essentially stops enemies from moving, which again in itself is a very useful ability depending on what you're up against. You can render a Berserker or a Faceless useless, or even a pack of Chrysalids if they're all bunched together, and then you've got the additional grenades for that. Plus, you then work it in an Overwatch, you can then take an Overwatch on something else that is moving. So very, very good there. Volatile Toss, Explosive Shot, fire a shot that explodes, firing all foes near the target. Sorry, damaging all foes near the target. Blistering Rupture, a Searing Burning Shot. So Rupture, yeah, it's basically Rupture. Okay, very good. Up here, the Raider is definitely more Overwatch orientated, I suppose, to some extent, covering fire. Guardian, of course, that classic one. But yeah, this is basically based on the shots that you can take. Here we go, Quickscope, something to do with Quickscope. Ability is reduced by 2, and anytime you miss with a non-sniper based primary weapon attack, you inflict a minor bleed on foes. So perhaps I was not meant to use a sniper here. I kind of just did because it worked one time. A couple of times actually it did work. But yeah, fire a heavy slug that knocks its victim back. That could be good for moving somebody out of cover. So there you go, that's the Demolisher class. I think the star really is the bomber tree here. Don't get me wrong, the claymores are really good, and then obviously you've got the Demolisher can set proximity traps using offensive grenades. There's a way you can actually sort of really stack. If a patrol isn't moving, you can really do something nasty there. That's for sure. Because you can still carry extra grenades like an acid bomb, frag or plasma grenade, whatever. Then you also get these on the side as well. So you're stacked with loads of different grenades on this. So that's why I'd recommend the bomber route. Definitely give that a go. That was really interesting. And then the trapper route is also very useful just because the claymores are really good, especially if you can home them in. If you can do it so you throw a proximity mine and then throw a homing mine, you can do some silly things there. Maybe even get 3 grenades in one. If they're stood next to a proximity mine but they haven't set it off, you might be able to, I don't know about that actually, maybe I'm overthinking that. Anyway, there you have it, that is all the classes. The only other one I want to cover is the Keeper class, so let's have a quick look at that. So this gave us the opportunity to recover Den Mother, which we did, and I really enjoyed it. There is a mod to actually have the Keeper class as something that you can have your own soldiers be, but I quite like it being a unique soldier with unique abilities. We went down the Logistician route, can never pronounce that word, which was really good. Bandage Throw, I used this a stupid amount of times, which means I obviously am not very good at the game because we shouldn't need to use it. Supply Run, using resupply ammo, Bandage Throw, grants a move-only action to the Keeper, that's interesting. Reposition, you can grapple an ally towards you. I think I might have just used that once, but it was quite vital. If you can use that in tandem with, say, I don't know, someone with a shotgun that breaks through, then you can pull them back after they've done their damage. Reflex, when fired upon, gain 1 extra action, only use once per mission. Holo targeting is always good, so you obviously want to overwatch them. The main abilities they have, though, are the grapple gun, which is really nice. Resupply ammo, so resupply basically in an area, and 1 good eye. That's interesting. Gain bonus 5 aim and 5 crit when taking multiple primary weapon shots against the same target in a row. Stacks up to 3 times. So there you go. And then we could have gone down Ventilate. So I'll probably use this class again and go down a different route. Maybe I'll go down Training, perhaps? Or will I go down... Oh, see, this is the thing. Deep Cover and Aim are just such dud abilities that I question whether or not I would do that. But then when entering Overwatch, you can take as many shots as you have remaining actions. Covering fire, cool under pressure, becomes much better towards the end. But yeah, I like to stick true to the trees here, because it just makes for more defined soldiers, potentially. And there you go, that is the Keeper class. It's now time to move on to what we were up against finally. That is the faction mods, so I guess we'll have a quick discussion about those now. I guess I'll just leave it on this screen here. So, we went up against 4 factions. We have the Phantoms, Rogue XCOM Operatives, the Bandits, and then the Mobile Foundation Task Force Light. I went for a light model of that so that they didn't appear all the time, because apparently they can appear quite a lot if you... I think that's the reason I didn't do it. Yeah, they can appear quite a lot if you don't use that. The Phantoms, did we even come across the Phantoms? I think I may have come across them once. That might be it. We came across the Bandits quite a lot of times early. They were really, really easy to deal with. They were kind of just meat shields that sort of, well, to be honest, they were kind of detrimental towards the end, because they would just activate all the enemies and they would start running around, you know, getting into your view and shooting you. Then the Rogue XCOM Operatives they were really fun to fight. They were tough as well, because they basically were based on the, I think, enemy within XCOM. So you had shivs, you had I always forget the mech suit ones. You had those. Those are really good, and I think the Mobile Foundation task forces were really good as well. Quite varied, if a little low on health. They were interesting though, and we got some interesting armors from them as well. Really, the one I want to focus on is, well, I used an additional mod, which is Raider Faction bases. So we got to take out a couple of bases, and that just made some special missions where we were up against like 50 bandits or something stupid like that, and that was a lot of fun. So if you're interested in that, I'll try and link in the description as well on some of those missions, especially the SCP Mobile Foundation Task Force. No, not that one. Sorry, the Rogue XCOM Operative base, which is one of the final missions we did. That was a riot. That was a really tense mission, actually. Really good one if you want to see what it's like. I really enjoyed that. Another mods, yeah, basically all in all, I'd say the faction mods were quite good. I think that we went through a phase where we didn't see any like factions for like 20 plus missions, I think. That might be because I'm using Covert Infiltration, so that is something to consider. I always play with the Covert Infiltration mod because to me, or Covert Operations, I always forget what the mod's called. That to me is vanilla. I don't see me ever going back to pure vanilla. It's just doesn't have the same appeal to me. So it kind of staggers the increase in force level, I think, a little bit more. It basically prolongs the game a little bit. So because you're going to be fielding more soldiers, more units and stuff, so you kind of notice that there are significant gaps in force level increase, which obviously can affect the enemies you come across, I would say. We also used the Resistance Heroes SITREP mod. That was a lot of fun, having like a pack of Templars on your side or something like that. Yeah, we had Reapers, Templars. I don't think we had one of just Skirmishers. No, I think we did actually. And then we had a mixed one as well. So we did get all combinations, which was nice. That's a lot of fun. It's nice to have the game throw you a bone whenever, you know, you're facing all these different things, like the Chosen and stuff like that, or Alien Rulers. And then you get a mission, you kind of get a bit of a freebie, so you know everybody's going to come back probably without any injuries. So they were a lot of fun. It would have been nice if they had more abilities. It seemed like, if anything, they just relied on like one ability. So that's the only criticism of that mod, is it'd be nice if they used like various different abilities, like the Templars used Volts or something, which I don't think they did. I think they just went in and stabbed. Reapers just shot. Skirmishers didn't use their Ripjack at all, I think. I think they just shot as well. I could be wrong on this, but I don't remember them using any secondary abilities, and it just, to me, was quite noticeable. But yeah, that's the only criticism of that, I would say. In terms of the enemy mods, we went up against the Black Ice Codex, was I guess the main one, really. That was a really fun one, actually. Really quite tough, especially earlier when you start facing them. Also discovering that they explode upon death was a lot of fun as well for some people. But yeah, that was a really good one. They are really tricky to deal with. They have some nasty abilities. They can reduce your actions as well if they use Quarantine ability, Black Ice Quarantine. Really interesting. And then you get the Black Ice Skulljack from it, which is basically a better version of the regular Skulljack. I think there's a good risk, difficulty, and then payoff, I would say. I think it pays off quite nicely. I thought that was a very good enemy mod, and I would recommend using that at least once for everybody. The other one I would definitely recommend is... would I definitely recommend it? Maybe. It depends what your feel is for it. The Cerberus mod, the Cerberus Sectopod. It's basically like a solo Sectopod that's maybe not quite as powerful as the regular one. I think it's got 10 less health, a tiny bit less armor, and yeah, it's a Sectopod that kind of roams individually. It can also be a reinforcement, which I thought was really interesting, and I quite liked the variety it gave, and I think I'm probably going to add that one into my next playthrough. I just thought it was interesting enough to justify a rerun. So that could be quite good. And we also used the Drome Dome, which had a different, offered a different variety of Andromedans, and then the Muton Destroyer as well, which also gave a couple of different Mutons. That was a really interesting one. I definitely recommend that if you're looking to increase your difficulty. There were different kinds of Mutons that we went up against, and they were immune to explosives, but for the most part. They were immune to explosives, so you have to deal with them some way or another, or else they will deal with you, because they were very powerful as well. So I really like that one too. That and I think the Muton Destroyer and the Black Ice Codex, those are 2 mods if you're looking for not a massive overhaul of enemies, but you just want to supplement the enemies with sort of tougher variants. Like the basic Muton it gets very trivial by the end of the playthrough. The Muton Elite from Long War is, you know, probably the most famous one or something like that. But yeah. So was it the Muton Destroyer mod class? I can't remember what it was. I'll put it on the screen anyway. I might have got the name wrong there. But yeah, there you go. Right, this video has run stupidly long, so I am going to leave it here. I have been rambling. I need a drink. I mean, I've had this coffee next to me, but I've not really had time to drink it for the last hour and a quarter. So I'm going to leave it there. I would love to hear your feedback if you did watch the playthrough. If there's any questions about the mods, please let me know. No doubt we will hear from the mod creator of Alpha's class pack himself in the comments. Mainly I want to say I loved it. I absolutely loved it, and I would recommend it, basically, in short. I would recommend that class pack. In fact, pretty much all the mods I used, I really enjoyed. We had some map class mods as well, which added a bit of variety. Really happy with this playthrough. I think it went down really well. So please let me know what you thought of it. Is there anything I missed? No doubt I missed so much, but we only have time to cover so much. Especially about the factions, if there's anything you thought, what you thought about those. I thought they were a nice little complement to the playthrough. Yeah, that's why I didn't go too high on enemy variation on Advent and the Aliens, because the factions were going to be that variation. Yeah, really, really good. So thank you very much to all the mod creators, as well as people like Evil Bob and Cinepus. Evil Bob for helping me with the mods as well, and yeah, stuff like that. Yeah, it's been a really good playthrough, and I'm looking forward to the next one, which will be in a few months' time. Yeah, so there you go. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'm going to leave it there. Thank you, and see ya.